Most business owners believe cash flow problems mean one thing: not enough money. They assume revenue is the issue. Sales need to increase. Marketing needs to work better. Offers need to be improved. And while revenue matters, most cash flow stress does not come from a lack of income. It comes from a lack of clarity. Clarity about timing. Clarity about expectations. Clarity about what is actually coming next. Cash flow problems are rarely about money itself. They are about uncertainty. Most founders can tell you how much they earned last month. Very few can tell you with confidence what money is arriving in the next 30 days. That gap creates stress. Not because the business is failing, but because the mind does not trust what it cannot see. Cash flow stress is often the stress of not knowing. When leaders lack visibility, their behavior changes. They become cautious. They delay decisions. They hesitate to commit. Not because they doubt their vision, but because timing feels unclear. Unclear timing quietly shifts leadership from proactive to reactive, and reactive leadership always feels heavier. Here's what usually happens when cash flow lacks visibility. You check balances more often than you should. You mentally track invoices instead of focusing on strategy. You replay financial decisions instead of making new ones. None of this looks dramatic, but it creates a low-grade pressure that never fully turns off. The business may look healthy from the outside, but internally, leadership feels strained. That strain is not caused by lack of effort. It's caused by lack of certainty. One of the most misunderstood aspects of cash flow is the difference between revenue and stability. Revenue tells you how much value you've created. Cash flow tells you how stable your decisions can be. A business can generate strong revenue and still feel unstable. Because stability comes from timing, not totals. Money that arrives late creates hesitation, even if it eventually arrives. And hesitation is expensive. When leaders hesitate, decision quality drops. Instead of asking, "What's the best move for the business?" they start asking, "What's the safest move right now?" Safe decisions protect the present. Clear decisions build the future. But when timing feels uncertain, founders default to safety. Hiring gets delayed. Investments get postponed. Opportunities get passed on. Not because they're bad ideas, because the timing feels risky. That shift compounds. This is why many founders feel stuck, even when revenue is growing. They're not blocked by ambition. They're not blocked by effort. They're blocked by uncertainty. Uncertainty drains confidence, and confidence is what allows leaders to move forward decisively. Another common misunderstanding is that cash flow stress means poor discipline. That's rarely true. Most founders are disciplined, committed, and capable. What they lack is a system that shows them what's coming before it arrives. Without that system, leadership becomes reactive by default, and reactive leadership consumes energy. Cash flow clarity does not eliminate risk. It reduces surprise, and reducing surprise is one of the most powerful things a leader can do. When leaders know what's coming, they plan differently. They hire with confidence. They invest with intention. They say no without fear. Not because they're reckless, but because they're informed. This is why cash flow problems are rarely about money. They are about visibility. They are about timing. They are about leaders being asked to make decisions without a clear picture of the road ahead. Once that picture becomes visible, pressure fades. Not because the business changes overnight, but because leadership changes. There's another layer most people don't talk about. Cash flow uncertainty doesn't just affect decisions, it affects identity. Founders begin to question themselves. Am I being too aggressive? Am I moving too fast? Should I slow down? Those questions are not signs of poor leadership. They are symptoms of unclear information. When leaders lack visibility, self-doubt creeps in, not because they lack skill, but because they lack certainty. Over time, that uncertainty becomes normalized. Founders tell themselves things like, "That's just how business works. This industry always pays late." It eventually comes in. Eventually becomes the justification for stress. But eventually is not a strategy. Eventually does not protect your calendar. Eventually does not improve decision quality. Businesses that accept uncertainty as normal build systems that reinforce it. And systems always win over intention. The turning point comes when founders stop treating cash flow stress as a money problem and start treating it as a clarity problem. Clarity around expectations, clarity around timing, clarity around what's actually predictable. This is not about control, it's about awareness. Awareness changes behavior. When leaders regain visibility into cash flow timing, something subtle but powerful happens. They breathe differently. Decisions feel lighter. Planning feels safer. Momentum returns, not because revenue suddenly increased, but because uncertainty decreased. You don't need perfect predictability. You need enough clarity to move forward without fear. Clarity does not eliminate challenges. It makes them manageable. Here's a simple reflection to sit with. If someone asked you right now, what money is arriving over the next 30 days, could you answer calmly? Not approximately, not hopefully, calmly. If the answer is no, that's not a failure, it's information. Clarity is not something you wait for, it's something you design. When leaders design for clarity, cash flow becomes less emotional and more structural. And structure is what allows growth without panic. Most businesses don't need more money. They need fewer surprises. And fewer surprises begin with visibility around timing. That's where calm starts. And calm is where sustainable growth is built. Cash flow problems are rarely about money. They are about uncertainty. They are about leaders being asked to decide without seeing clearly. When clarity replaces guesswork, pressure fades, and leadership becomes lighter. That is the real value of cash flow clarity. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing where you stand, not guessing, not hoping, knowing. That confidence changes how you show up in conversations, negotiations, and decisions. It removes urgency from your voice and replaces it with intention. When leaders stop reacting to uncertainty, they regain authority over their time, their energy, and the direction of the business. Cash flow, calm, always comes before growth. When timing is clear, decisions get lighter. When decisions get lighter, leadership gets stronger. This is where stability begins and where real momentum is built. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate you spending this time here.